love it. This is a great venue. So we are going to start what is the formal part of our program, but really the biggest opportunity tonight is for you to network. So we will save some time at the end for you to do so. I want to start by acknowledging the lands on which we're gathered this evening, the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Coast Salish peoples, the Musqueam, the Squamish, the Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. I want to extend my gratitude to them for their stewardship of these lands. And I have to say, in our journey at YWCA and on my own personal journey with Truth and Reconciliation, one of the most incredible pieces of Women of Distinction is seeing how many Indigenous women are nominees, not only in the reconciliation category, but across all categories. And it's a testament, yeah, exactly. It's a testament to just how many incredible Indigenous women are in leadership roles. We have more and more Black women, racialized women, 2S LGBTQ folks in our nominees every year. And that's thanks to the nominations committee in large part. I don't know if anyone's here from our nominations committee. If you are, put your hands up. But this is also a plug if you want a volunteer gig. We love members of our nominations committee who really reach out in community and encourage women to apply, because women don't often think they're ready to apply for an award. And there are so many compelling stories. All of you have incredible journeys of leadership and inspiration, and whatever we can do to create the environment where you get to meet each other, we're really happy to do it and happy to celebrate. Come on in, grab a drink. Feel free to grab some food as well as we're talking. Before we get started, it's getting dark, so I'm gonna put my glasses on. You'll notice throughout the room there are a few conversation prompts at the tables. They are intentional. Intentional is one of our values at YWCA. The Women of Distinction Alumni Network is about meaningful connection and engaging in thoughtful dialogue about leadership, community, and the impact we can have. To help spark those conversations, we've incorporated these conversation prompts into tonight's Network to Win. So here's how it works. At check-in, you got 4 numbered chits. They're on the back of your name tag, or you'll find them included, in the back of your name badge. Your goal is to exchange those chits with 4 different people. To do that, you need to strike up a conversation. Hopefully not while I'm talking, not while the panel's talking. You might use one of the prompts on the table to get that conversation started. Once you've collected 4 chits, you will, with all different numbers on them, you can bring them to the Network to Win table. Where is that, Jenna? Oh, over there. Amanda's there, around the corner. Turn them in for your chance to win a $100 Cafe Artigiano gift card. That would take me about probably 5 days to use that based on my caffeine intake. So take your time, be intentional, enjoy the conversation. The winner will be drawn at the end of the evening, and we're going to contact them by email. Over the past 4 decades, the Women of Distinction Awards have recognized women whose leadership strengthens our communities. Thousands of nominees and recipients have carried this recognition forward in their work, advocacy, and lived experience. Until now, however, there has not been a structured way for this community to remain connected after their nomination year. Tonight marks the beginning of the next chapter. The purpose of launching the Women of Distinction Alumni Network is to honor all of you and the award's legacy, and to reconnect to bring that strength into the future. Last fall, many of you took the time to complete our alumni survey and share what ongoing connection beyond the awards year could and should look like for you. What we heard was a strong desire to reconnect across award years, to engage in peer mentorship, to gather together as alumni, to share knowledge and lived experience, and to find flexible, meaningful ways to stay connected to the mission of YWCA and well beyond your time as a Woman of Distinction nominee. Your feedback directly shaped what we are very proud to be launching this year. So rather than finalizing a structure in advance, this first year is intentionally focused on connection, on listening, on co-creating spaces and shared governance. It's not about presenting a finished program. We really want to understand from you how this network begins to take shape in practice, and we have leadership from alumni themselves who we want to guide what comes next. By women, for women. The initial opportunities you see here, such as alumni gatherings, mentorship, speaker conversations, storytelling, and leadership opportunities, reflect what was shared through last fall's survey. And if tonight is any testament, we know there's such a strong interest in maintaining these connections. These are not intended to be a fixed or an exhaustive list. As the network grows, additional ideas and opportunities will be explored through alumni leadership. So at this point in the evening, I want to invite a few from our distinguished women of distinction alumni who've kindly agreed to share their reflections. We're going to have a bit of a panel conversation. We're going to give you a QR code for a survey, and I'm going to share a little bit more about what we're up to at YWCA, and then I promise you we'll give you more time for networking at the end. It's so hard to choose from alumni to feature here. I feel like we could do this every week and never get through all the stories that you can share, but I'm very excited to invite our panel forward. Our first panelist is Sarah Banji, who is an occupational therapist and clinical faculty member at the Faculty of Medicine, the University of British Columbia. Welcome, Sarah. I'll invite you just to come up this way. Our next panelist is Mary Jo Dion, who is a writer, speaker, filmmaker, and philanthropist, and who was recently recognized with the Governor General's Medal. I'm going to invite Mary Jo up to the stage. There she is. Oh, I really saw you. Come on up, Mary Jo. And then our third panelist, Indira Samara Sakira, who is President Emeritus at the University of Alberta. Welcome, Indira. I'm going to ask a few questions. We're going to prompt each of the panelists to answer. You'll get to hear a little bit about them. And if you're smart about it, you can use your chits after they come off the panel, and then you can be able to get the Artigiano
Mine are already
gift.
gone.
Oh, already gone.
I
Okay,
was like, I'm
Mary
still
Jo.
winning that.
Awesome. Everybody seated. We're just going to ask you to speak right into the mic so we can hear at the back of the room.
Erin, do you think we should reconfigure given the shoes? Like, do you want us bookended
Oh
around
my.
Indira? Like, do we want to go black, red,
I
black,
kind of like
red?
the black, red.
Or-
I've got
we
the
coordinated
polka dot.
our
Okay, and you know what? You guys are bookending us, so
I
this
think-
works.
I think we
Okay.
got it. I think
Just want
we're
to make
good.
sure the visuals. We have good photographers here. I want to
I
make
love
sure
the
this
red
is
shoes. This is
Okay,
great.
Perfect.
Okay, first question. I'm going to start, Mary Jo, with you
Okay.
because you're in the middle. So first question, when you think back on your Women of Distinction year, and what year was that, Mary Jo?
2018.
Woo! What did that recognition mean to you personally or professionally? And what, if anything, surprised you about being part of this community?
Okay, so how many people here are self-employed?
Oh, amazing.
Okay.
I love it.
And of those self-employed people, how many of you really do work a lot alone? Okay, so I'll tell you what it meant for me. I remember being in my car and getting the phone call that I'd been nominated. And I actually almost remember, like, metaphorically realizing that I think when you work alone and are self-employed, you can often feel like you're throwing darts, but you're not sure if you're anywhere near a target. And I remember thinking, oh, I must be getting close to hitting a target. Like, why am I getting this phone call? And then on the night of, when I was blessed to hear my name called, I actually had the feeling, oh, I think maybe I'm hitting a target. Like, not just near it, but maybe I'm actually hitting it. So not egoically, but I felt like the work I was doing was validated, because you can often feel unseen, I think. So that was my takeaway from the experience on a personal and professional level, because the two are very intertwined. But I would also say the biggest surprise was how many of us there are. I remember the Marriott Park Hotel, I think we were at, and you look around and you're like I'm in North Van. I have a little studio in my backyard, like a little cabin in the woods. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, there's like so many people out there doing things that they're passionate about. And every year I think about that when I see the list of nominees and all this. I'm like, there's so many of us. And I just think that was left a really lasting impact on me.
That's awesome. Thank you, Mary Jo. Yes. And Sarah, I'm going to give you the next question. Same question. When you think back to your year at Women of Distinction, what did the recognition mean to you? personally and professionally, and what, if anything, surprised you?
Yeah, so I think my year was 2010, so that feels like eons ago now. And it's really great to actually see some people who were in those earlier years here too, it's so multi-generational, and it's captured so many people across different years. And I think for me, the biggest takeaway, I was in the Young Women of Distinction category, and seeing just and being so inspired that there was other young people like myself, like starting out really young in terms of volunteering and being active in their communities and caring about social justice, and it made me feel less alone. It was like, wow, there are other young women out here like me that I could be friends with and are doing such inspiring work. And I remember reaching out after the awards ceremony to one of my fellow nominees and going for coffee and hearing about her experiences and some of her challenges, and just remembering like this is such a great way to make friends, and also to realize that this was before many of us had started our professional careers, and so even just having those conversations about what do you want to do when you grow up, kind of thing, and realizing that there are other young women out there who are asking the same questions or dealing with the same challenges, I think was so humbling and so exciting for me. And again, yeah, being in that room full of those women and just realizing there's so many of us out there, and there's so many just that I don't know about that have just come out of the woodwork, is really incredible to see, like all of us in one room, and all of us in one room again here today, like that this is continuing, I think is just so wonderful. It's just so exciting, and I'm really curious to see how this progresses and how this grows and how this can become a sustainable way to engage. I think that was the big takeaway for me.
Awesome, thank you, Sarah. And Dira, yes, you got Dira, over to you.
Thank you all, and it's delighted to be here. I have to say that my award was so long ago, I didn't remember. So I thought, should I make up a year? But no, I then looked around and I found it was 1997. The Titanic was the movie of the year. We were still dialing up to connect to the internet. We had, I think we had gone past pagers and we had flip phones, right? Anyway, so 97, I was at that time a professor in materials engineering at University of British Columbia. And I would say this award was one of the first awards outside my discipline that I received. And it really, when you're an academic, how many academics in this room? You kind of sit in your cubbyhole and you write your papers and you hope somebody will read them. You never are let out of the cubbyhole to talk to anyone outside what you do. It was refreshing that there was a world outside. And I would say that for me, it then led to, Vice President Research, University of British Columbia, when Martha Piper was president. And I think that this award really was one that helped me think about a leadership role. So what surprised me? Well, I thought I was getting a pat on the back, right? But now I discover it's a lifelong membership to a group of troublemakers. But seriously, trailblazers. I don't know why I'm up here. There are many in this room who should be up here. So thank you for the honor.
Thank you, Indira. Mary Jo, back to you. What kinds of connections or collaborations would you most want this network to intentionally create?
So sometimes for me, I struggle with networking events. I almost feel like a certain level of pressure that comes with them, and that could be because like I'm an introvert 98% of my life. So as soon as I walked in here tonight, it felt organic. And I really liked that because there was a commonality that we all knew right off the bat. And even when I got the 4 little pieces of paper and it was like, exchange this with Bert, I was like, oh my God, I hope more people will like me. And then like 5 minutes later, I'm like, I've got my phone. But I think that the idea of just sort of being an organic, see where this leads, but also having parameters around it, that's the most vague answer I could possibly give. But when you said troublemakers and trailblazers, you know, it's like nice women rarely make history. Is it a Facebook group? Nice women rarely make history, where we're all in a Facebook group, we can upload what's going on or whatever, you know. So I think I answered that terribly. I don't know.
That's awesome. We got lots of notes we're taking. Thank you. Sarah, what about you? What kinds of connections or collaborations would you most want the network to intentionally create?
I think what I noticed in my year when I was nominated, in 2010, there wasn't as much diversity in terms of women who were being nominated, and the women that were being reflected in the awards ceremony were sort of, it seemed like, you know, we had a certain class of women or women who had really, you know, had spent several years, you know, accruing accomplishments in their respective fields, and not as many women who were maybe had burgeoning ideas or were just starting or were creative and were more in that trailblazer sort of area. Certainly fewer Indigenous women and women of color, or women from the LGBTQ plus IA community. And I know since 2010, the YWCA has made efforts to really highlight those groups and to ensure that nominations reflect the diversity of women who are accomplishing things and doing things and often go unrecognized, or whose voices are often left to the margins of really important discussions. And I'm really pleased to see that change, and I think it could also go further in terms of, really doing more outreach, really making sure that nominations are reaching some of those underrepresented communities, and that maybe there's specific mentorship or networking for groups of Indigenous women nominees or groups of women of color to have conversations about what it's like to live at those intersections. My big area of interest in research and practice is in intersectionality, and I think if we could do something more with the area of intersectionality and acknowledging that women's lives are complex and they are, we're navigating different realities and different challenges based on our race and class and gender identity and sexual orientation. I think that would be a really big step forward, to be very intentional, to use, one of the core values of the YWCA, be intentional about building that rather than it just happening or just allowing it to happen. Be really focused and put the energy there.
Thank you. Indira, same question to you. What kinds of connections or collaborations would you most want this network to create?
Having been an engineer, I spent a lot of time with men, right? And the thing that I noticed is what we women need is a crisis backline. Forget the pleasantries and just one way in which you can send a message saying, I need a board recommendation, I need a policy template, I need a large cup of coffee in the next 20 minutes. That kind of connection. And I'll tell you why that is. When I was, after I finished being president of the University of Alberta, I was on the board of Bank of Nova Scotia. And I asked the chair of the board, so tell me, how does one get on boards? And he said, it's very easy. I called up 10 of my buddies and told them I'm looking for a board position. And I got 4 offers. Now, we women have to do a much better job of sponsoring other women for these opportunities, because men all the time. So what would I like to see? You know, my dear friend over here, Joyce Resin, is the reason I came tonight. She should be sitting here because she has a real connection with the Y. And she said to me, we need more young women to be engaged, so those of us who are slightly longer in the tooth can actually help young women. So maybe a network between emerging leaders and the alumni of this network would be one idea that might tangibly help. So that's a few thoughts.
Awesome. Thank you. Sarah, I'm going to go to you next for this question. How can this network leverage the collective expertise of alumni in ways that advance the YWCA's mission and community impact?
I think I kind of want to just go off of what Indira mentioned as well about, you know, I think we're not living in a post-feminist world yet. There's still lots of barriers and challenges that women face, particularly young women, in terms of advancement. There's a lot of pressure to sort of still choose between, do you want to have a family, or do you want to become the CEO, or do you want to become partner? And you know, for want of a better word, I guess there's still a very operative bro culture in a lot of organizations where, you know, the bros hang out, they go golfing, they go have beers, and then somebody gets a job. And I wonder what we could cultivate in terms of our culture. Like, what do we make in terms of a women's culture, a gender diverse culture, a culture where people do get promoted, where people do advance, where you make a few calls and you have a job, you know, where it doesn't feel like a slog to advance, and it doesn't feel like we're left alone to figure out things on our own, and that we're left to our own devices, whereas other people have support. I think we still live in a world where men are really groomed to advance and women aren't. We are, but we're doing it with a lot of resistance sometimes. So I think putting some emphasis there on how do we build a professional culture that nurtures and mentors women into career advancement or into academic advancement? That's I think a real key area of focus, and I think that's something that we need to have more conversations about, like real authentic conversations about what the struggles are.
Thank you. Mary Jo, same question to you.
Ditto. Again, I hearken back to the fact I spend a lot of time alone. And I think that one of the struggles I have as someone who's alone often doing what I do is, well, I shouldn't say it's a struggle because it always ends up working out, but I would love to see ways that we use this, and I'm going to use the word community instead of network because, again, networking stresses me out, but to have this community and access to one another, whether it's, as you say, I need a board member or a large cup of coffee. For me, one thing that my 2018 experience really ignited for me was I didn't know about Crabtree Corner in 2018. And when we had the opportunity to get votes for the Connecting the Community Award, and I found out about Crabtree Corner, and I was raised by a really forward-thinking single mom, I went nuts for that check. I know there was someone holding a Connecting the Community $10,000 check in one of the slides, and I'll never forget that feeling of learning about this organization, well, YWCA the organization, but this special place and the work they're doing for single moms. And so that experience has led me to do a lot of work on the downtown east side, some with Crabtree Corner, helping single moms. And for me, that's my area of passion, but I'm by myself in my cabin in the woods in North Van. So I would love to see, to Indira's point, access to a community of people who I can throw something out as a sounding board. I have this idea to collect shoes for kids on the downtown east side, who's in, or whatever that looks like. And I know as women, we're already volunteering a lot of our time. I'm not talking about sucking energy from people, but bouncing ideas off one another in our areas of passion.
Awesome, thank you. I love community. That's another one of our values at YWCA. Indira, same question to you.
Well, I think my colleagues have given plenty of great ideas. I don't have a lot to add other than to say, you know, when I look at this room, and I think I know some women, I mean, honestly, we should be the chief wisdom officers. Seriously, there's enough. I thought to myself, coming and I see the room, there's enough wisdom in this room to launch a satellite. So we should be able to really have an impact. And the ideas that I'd like to pick up on is, so if you can identify women in our community who are struggling to scale up a nonprofit network, struggling to find an opportunity, just variety of challenges, how do we connect them with the resource here and really have impact? I mean, I think it's simply that, because without impact, then the organization doesn't, if you will, advance its mission. So I would be for really doing something concrete that really achieves that kind of outcome.
Thank you. Indira, I'll start with you on this last question. If we gather again, I would like to say when we gather again, 2 years from now. Can you hear me? Oh, when. Oh, thank you. Good. Edit. Good correction. When we gather again 2 years from now or sooner, what would success look like? You've shared a lot of ideas, but anything you haven't shared?
So the first thing is we won't need name tags. Hopefully by then, we might all have encountered each other over the 2 years in helping the community build capacity. But more seriously, I think for me, success would look like where you have had, say, the 2028 alumni women of distinction say that they had been mentored or a door had been opened or assistance had been offered or a sponsorship had happened as a result of someone in this room or in this community. That's success.
I love that. Thank you. Mary Jo, 2 years from now, what does it look like we're gathered?
Okay, so for me, on a personal level, like I'm loving what I'm seeing right now, so more of this, please. One thing I notice right now with women in general is we're so supportive of one another's successes, and that there's this real vibe of achieve. And I know you mentioned the fact, like, we're sort of conditioned, oh yeah, you can do anything, the sky's the limit, but take your pick, whether it's motherhood or CEO, and figuring out, okay, well, which is it, and can I do both, and how do I do both, and all the rest of it. So answering personally right now, I'm really tired. And I would love to walk into a space where I'm surrounded by women who are not only going to support me in those feelings of the sky's the limit, go out and achieve all the goals that you have on your long list, but who remind me it's okay to rest. And so I'm just saying that because even when I was asked to be on this panel, I had to stop, and I'm not gonna cry when I say this, and go, I had to stop and go, but I'm so tired. And then I realized that's why I have to say yes, because I need to be reminded. You know, I saw this quote and I took a photo of it and I put it on my daughter's bedroom bulletin board that says, when you're tired, learn to rest, not quit. And so for me in 2 years, I want to walk in and be surrounded by women who know it's okay to rest and to have conversations about the holistic picture and not just the what are you going for next, because that is bloody tiring.
Thank you. Sarah, last words to you. 2 years from now, what does success look like?
I think I'd like to we talked about, knowledge and how much knowledge there is in this room and how much wisdom. And I think across cultures, women are huge bearers of knowledge, intergenerational knowledge and passing down knowledge through stories. And I really like and want to echo what Mary Jo said about, things being holistic, being inclusive. What about knowledge sharing circles? What about knowledge translation into action? What about storytelling and learning from each other in ways that are non-conventional, right, and non-traditional, that acknowledge the full picture, that it's really tiring to do this work and burnout is really high, and what do we do to uplift each other and prevent that burnout, and also learn from each other, like learn from the intricacies of each other, the cultural knowledge that often gets lost, the stories and the herstories that often get lost. How do we cultivate that more? I think I kind of want to leave with more of a question of how do we cultivate that? What needs to happen? What needs to shift in order for those conversations to happen? And what kind of things could come from those conversations? So I guess it's just food for thought that I want to leave people with rather than a conclusive answer. We have the answers in us.
Thank you so much. Let's give a round of applause, please, again to our panelists, Sarah, Mary Jo, and Indira. So following, plant's going back up. You're welcome to stay. We're going to take a short break for our survey in a minute, but I will say, following today's launch, alumni will be invited to take an active role in shaping the network through a volunteer leadership council. In its first year, this group will work alongside YWCA employees to help define engagement, shape member benefits, guide programming, and establish the structure and workflow that will support the network's development. They will also provide insight into how the network can be sustainably supported, and I think we've got a lot of great ideas. I've got tons of ideas. I wish I could ask you more questions. So please let us know. We'll talk about how to be part of that leadership council. We have a QR code, next slide, there it is, with a survey to allow us to begin understanding how you may wish to participate in the network as it takes shape. So that can include mentorship, volunteering, storytelling, attending future gatherings. We heard a lot of ideas here tonight already, or serving on the Alumni Leadership Council. So you will find space to share additional ideas via the QR code. And I'm going to pause for just a few minutes. I'm going to let the panelists go back. We'll give you a minute to fill out the QR code survey now. You need to meet each other. And Jenna has emailed it, will email it to all of you, which knowing Jenna probably means you'll have it by the time you get home. And if you don't want to fill it out now, you're welcome to fill it out and respond later. So I will pause. We'll say a final round of applause to our panel. We'll let you QR code. Because of your experience, your leadership, your insight, it's so essential to be uplifting our communities, uplifting each other. I really heard about the isolation and the opportunity. So please take time, reach out, meet someone you haven't met before so that next time you don't need a name tag to get to know them. And the bar is open until 7:45. Please enjoy. No more talking from the podium. And one question from the audience. We are looking at how to incorporate the rest of BC. What we've been learning is that Metro Vancouver events don't always export well in other communities. So we really want to do some community engagement before we look to expand. So we're listening and learning. We're spreading wings, not trying to have pointy elbows in our provincial expansion. So really welcome feedback as we go. So we'll see you next year. Thank you.